The PBA has had its share of superstars from the beginning. Few of them could actually be considered millionaires, though most of them had been making money through other means. It is not uncommon for some to forgo the opportunity of playing in the league and seek greener pastures elsewhere. In 1991, PBA superstar Alvin Patrimonio was offered by Pepsi Cola 25 million pesos for 5 years. That was unheard of at the time. Pure Foods matched that offer, and after him, several players were awarded multi-million contracts owing both to their superstar status as well as immense contribution to the team. So how does this development affect the league? Why is the issue of salary cap, and incentives needed to be addressed by the PBA? By the way, this is Chip of Game High, and we'll talk about some of the famous lucrative contracts the league has ever seen, the changes and impact made by the league on salaries and incentives, and the effect of current salary structure and bonus schemes. Before I go on, please like and share this video, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon. I said earlier that after Patrimonio received such a contract, that some teams followed suit on offering lucrative contracts to marquee players. Some of them were Jun Limpot, aptly given the nickname The Big Deal, the skyscraper Marlo Aquino, aerial voyager Virgel Meneses, and even Patrimonio's teammate Jericho Deniera, among others. Don't get us wrong, but some have signed for less, those still amounting to millions. The 90s was considered the start of the millionaires era of the league. Every team has its own share of superstar millionaires, and those who have none can always avail of one, either through the draft, free agency, or trade. The largest contract was the one signed by Kenneth Dorendes for Alaska, amounting to $48 million in 8 years, a record that still stands to this day. Danny Ildefonso could have broken that record by a mile. In 2001, he signed a $96 million 16-year contract that Tanduay offered to him. And the huge amount does not yet include other incentives. The PBA, however, torpedoed the deal because league officials said the terms were absurd enough and will take up the entire team's bonus allotment going to one player alone. Needless to say, Danny I remained with San Miguel and settled for less, while the league reviewed the rules and made changes. The aftermath of the Ildefonso affair, however, resulted in some measures that proved to be detrimental to players as well as to the league. Rules that are meant to strengthen the salary cap and maintain competitive balance in the league actually contributed to the lack of parity that is now one of the problems haunting the league. By having a player's cap, the league wanted to maintain balance and avoid a bidding war among teams for players. In truth, however, that is what everything should amount to, for why would a player want to be the best in the league? Will it be fair to the best player in the league and not have the best deal in their hands? If a player is like an import, or scores like Stephen Curry, dominates like Giannis Antetokounmpo, or simply leads like LeBron James, will it be really fair to put a cap on their salary? What if it's the same amount as that of another max player who may play consistently night in and night out, but cannot deliver big numbers, much less a championship? I know that was a mouthful, but I'm sure you get my drift, right? Okay, well, in effect, that was what the league has done to the players when they decided to put a cap on players' maximum salary. Worse, however, it turns out that not every team is equally capable of paying their players. When the economic downturn hit the country nearly 2 decades ago, some teams had trouble keeping superstars on their fold. Some teams thought that money could be put to other use, and maintaining a team is no longer a viable option. You know that a team would fold once it began trading its marquee players and superstars for some unknowns. Bear with me as I go deeper in this. Since the maximum salary of a player per team has a cap, it will now be possible for teams to have multiple max players. A team that has a 50 million player will not be able to have the same tier 1 superstar, but with a player's cap, it became possible. So, for the sake of argument, even if we assume that there were no violations of team's salary cap, a limit to a player's salary allows teams to stockpile or even deepen their talent on paper. In short, we can trace the origin of the present problem of concentration of superior talent to To a few teams, it is a very innocent rule, which was intended to maintain balance in the league. It was also around this time that rumblings about foreign teams were mentioned in whispers. A player who performed above expectations by posting big-time numbers consistently would suddenly be traded. To be fair, the PBA kept an eye on every deal and transaction, but in some instances, the league's hands are tied. When a team decided to sell its franchise and move its players, the PBA could only watch and facilitate. The PBA was able to maintain the facade of parity for quite some time because of the salary cap. But reality bites, and sooner or later, some marquee players, superstars, and those who bring a lot to the table started moving from their lackluster teams to the best ones. The arrival of new franchises that have the financial muscle to get the best players should have ended the problem. Well, in a way, the problem was solved. But in recent years, superstars, quality role players, and super rookies who could have made an impact and preserved the balance in the league remained concentrated in a few teams. We already talked about parity and the neglect on the part of the PBA in a prior video. On the part of the players, why would they want to leave their team? Why would they prefer some teams over the others? At the height of the Paul Lee controversy, Coach Yang Giao frankly had to ask, how does their max contract differ from the others? In theory, everything should be the same for everybody, but in practice, everybody knows that it is not. For one, players receive benefits for winning games and collecting individual awards. The higher the team in the standings, the more rewards they get. That is if the team goes higher in the standing. If you're not playing in the elite teams, chances are you are stuck at the bottom with far lesser incentives. And if you do not go higher in the standings, even if you play like Kevin Durant, you will not probably get awards and accolades. Case in point, Gary David, who delivered monster numbers in the 2011-2012 season, lost the MVP battle to Mark Kagiwa because his team could not progress from the eliminations in the last two conferences. But if you keep on winning, you have more chances of piling the stats. More recall, more exposure, more chances of winning awards. More of these, they mean higher incentives. A championship bonus for a player could amount to at least in the hundreds of thousands. No wonder even sister teams play each other as if they are playing their bitterest rivals. Playing for the championship is like playing for millions. Literally. Winning a couple of championships could mean being a millionaire in no time at all, even if it's not in the contract. So who would want to play for a championship team then? Maybe that clears the air. It is really not rocket science that players gravitate toward winning teams. And interestingly enough, championship incentives are not covered by rules on the salary cap. As to why this is the case when everything else is covered, it remains a mystery. It is for this reason that the National Basketball Association tries to keep balance and parity, even to the extent of being overprotective of small markets. The PBA, a league for which most of the time has been following the NBA template, decided not to follow its lead with regard to parity. But while others leave for other teams, others also leave for the international scene. The league, as the prime destination for our best players, is being challenged by leagues from overseas, such as for now, the Japan B-League. It is said that the Japan B-League offers a higher income for those willing to play as imports. If that is the case, then the PBA must fix its salary structure. As of now, the maximum salary in the PBA is almost the same as the one received by Dorendes in 2001. That was 20 years ago. By comparison, the salary cap in the NBA has grown leaps and bounds over the last 2 decades. It is probably the same with other leagues such as in Europe, Australia, Japan, China, and Korea. With the PBA's salary scheme still pegged at more or less 2001 levels, together with the bonuses for games won in elimination, semifinal, and championship rounds, there is so much incentive for players of exceptional talent to move overseas. That was probably what prompted Ray Parks and Kiefer Ravena to take their talents to Japan. With no change in the salary structure, and with great incentives available only to those who are consistently winning, or elite teams due to the lack of balance, playing overseas suddenly becomes an enticing option. The league has trouble getting a grip with the situation, but not only because they are unprepared. In the last couple of years, you have been unresponsive to challenges and reluctant to adapt to a changing situation. Tune in next time because that will be the subject of the last part of our series. In the meantime, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more sports content. Also, check out our website www.gamehigh.ph as well as our Facebook and Instagram pages where we have posted content on the PBA. Until the next one, guys, stay safe, and we'll see you around.